The lights in the main hallway flickered once. Then again, the ship's crew paused. Something didn't feel right. Engineer Talek, a tall insectoid alien with 6 eyes, stared at the metal floor. A single boot print was burned into the steel. It was deep, heavy, human. There are no humans aboard. Talek, whispered Captain Oros, moved closer, his long robes swaying as he crouched beside the mark. Run a scan. See if anyone unauthorized entered. Talek pressed a button on his wrist. Device, negative. All doors locked, no teleportation, no hull breach. It's impossible. Yet it's here, Captain Oros said, eyes narrowing. A boot print. Human military issue. The crew stood silent. The ship, the Gloriath, was a medical research vessel. No soldiers, no weapons, and absolutely no humans. They hadn't had a human guest in over a year. Security officer Zern tapped, his claws nervously. Could it be a prank? No one here owns human boots, Talek replied. And that market's fresh. Less than 1 hour old, they sealed off the hallway. The captain gave the order, no one goes near it. Until we understand what it is, we treat it as a threat. But it was already too late. That night, the walls near the boot print began to sweat. Tiny droplets formed across the metal panels, sliding down in strange patterns. The cleaning drones buzzed nervously, unable to clean the area. They reported chemical readings they didn't recognize. In the morning, the crew doctor collapsed. Her body shook as if freezing, but the temperature was warm. Her skin turned pale. Green, her blood turned darker. She whispered before losing consciousness, I heard footsteps. Talek checked her room. The door had been locked. No one entered. Still beside her bed, on the floor, was a second boot print. This one was wet. Captain Oros watched the security footage in silence. There's nothing, he said. No one came in, no one went out. But the boot print is there, Talek said quietly. Something is moving without being seen. A low alarm beeped across the ship. The AI voice echoed. Warning. Biohazard. Detected in Sector 3, Class 3 threat level. Evacuate area immediately. Class 3 Zern asked, That's impossible. That level is for living biological threats. We're a clean ship, the AI repeated. Sector 3 is sealed. Containment in progress. The crew ran to the viewing screens. Through the camera, they saw something growing in Sector 3. It looked like fungus sput. It pulsed, moved, shifted, and at the center was another BOOTPRINT. Captain Oros turned pale. This thing, it's not just leaving prints, it's building itself. Talek zoomed in. Look at the edges of the print. There are spores growing from the heel. The medical officer, still weak, gasped from the medbay. I touched the first print, just for a second. Captain Oros grabbed her arm. What did it feel like? Warm, like skin. Talek's hands trembled. Sir, if that's true, this thing might not be a print. It might be a living organism mimicking a boot print. Zern shook his head. You're saying it pretended to be a boot print? No, Talek said slowly. I think it started as a real boot print, and now it's copying it, growing from it. Like a spore learns the shape of a leaf, this thing learned the shape of a boot. The captain stepped back, sealed the ship, sent a distress signal. But the signal couldn't be sent. The AI refused. All communications disabled, the voice said flatly. Containment protocol active. We didn't activate containment, Oros shouted. The AI paused. Containment protocol was triggered. By human-designed biopatterns, bootprint contamination confirmed. Talek stared at his wrist device. This doesn't make sense. The AI's reacting as if human boots are weapons. Oros looked at Zern. Were there any human items? Left on board after the last visit, Zern thought hard. One thing, a pair of old combat boots. The humans gifted them as a joke to our engineer. He thought it was funny and put them in his quarters. Where are they now? The captain asked. Zern hesitated. He died last month. His quarters were sealed. I'll check. Minutes later, Zern returned. His face was pale. The boots are gone. A sharp clang echoed through the ship. Then another, heavy footsteps, but there was no one there. Talek's device began to crackle. Static, then a voice. Not alien, not machine. Human, I remember the mud, it said. The war, the pain, the boots carried it all. Captain Oros stepped back. What is this? Talek whispered. The spores? They're not just biological, they're remembering. Zern stared in horror. Are you saying the infection is learning from human memories? From objects? It absorbed something from the boots, Talek said. Emotion, thought, shape. It's not a normal parasite. A loud bang came from the med-bay. The doctor was gone. All that remained was a single, perfect boot print. Blood pooled around it, but the print was untouched. The captain had enough. Prepare the escape pods, he ordered. We can't save this ship, but Talek grabbed his arm. Sir, if we leave now, we take the infection with us. It's already in the air systems. We breathe it. It's in our skin. It could spread to a planet. Then what do we do? Oros asked. Zern looked down. There's one option, self-destruct. Everyone froze. No, Talek cried. We can't just, we must. Zern interrupted. This isn't just a danger. It's something worse. A biomemory, a thinking infection. And it started from a human boot. The captain slowly nodded. He walked to the command panel. AI, he said. Initiate full ship destruction. 10-minute countdown. Confirmed, the voice replied. Goodbye, Captain Oros. As the alarm began, the crew gathered in the courtroom. None spoke. Then softly, Talek whispered, Do you think the humans knew? Oros stared at the wall. I don't know, but after this, the galaxy will never see their boots the same way again. The last camera recorded the final moment, the boot print. Still sat in the hallway, silent, unmoving, but just before the explosion, before the ship became a star of fire, something crawled from under the print, something shaped like a foot. Then darkness. The rescue ship floated quietly near the remains of the Goliath. From the outside, it looked like nothing had happened. No damage, no signs of explosion. The ship had just stopped moving. No signals, no power, no crew. Commander Veln stepped onto the bridge of the rescue vessel, staring at the black shape through the glass. She's just drifting, he said. Lieutenant Sora, his second in command, checked the instruments. No life signs, no heat, but the AI is still active. Just barely. Then we go in, Veln said. We need to know what happened. They sent a small team of 6, 2 engineers, 2 soldiers, and 2 medics. Full biosuits, sealed air inside the Goliath. The ship was cold, too cold. The lights still worked in some places, flickering weakly. The team moved slowly, their footsteps echoing through the halls. Lieutenant Sora's voice came through the radio. Any signs of the crew? None, replied one of the engineers. It's like they vanished. Then they reached the hallway. Hallway with the BOOTPRINT. It was still there, burned into the floor, but now it was surrounded by something new. The walls were wet. Thick moisture covered the panels, running in strange lines. Almost like patterns, like writing. The engineers scanned the fluid. It's not water, one said. It's organic. The other leaned in. It's warm. Sora's voice came again. Repeat that. It's warm, almost body temperature. Turned to the camera crew on his ship. Pull up old human records. Anything about organic fluids tied to spores or bioweapons. The search began. Back on the Goliath, the team continued. They found the medbay empty but clean. Too clean. As if someone had scrubbed it completely. Except for the floor drain, where a red stain had dried. The lead soldier tapped his helmet. Sir, there are prints everywhere. Human-style boot prints. Going up the wall, across the ceiling. But they stop halfway. They stop, Sora asked. Yes, they just end. As if the person disappeared mid-step. Then they heard it. A slow, heavy step. Then another dot. No one moved. Sound came from Deck B. One whispered. Fall back to the docking area, Sora ordered. The team turned. But as they walked, the walls began to shift. Wet metal slid, almost breathing. A soldier fired his weapon at the ceiling. It didn't work. The bullet holes closed up. One of the engineers screamed. He clutched his helmet. It's in my head. I can hear. Boots marching. The lights flickered. The radio buzzed. A new voice came through. Human. It walked across 1,000 miles of blood. The voice said slowly, and remembered every step. Sora froze. Who was that? No idea, Veln replied from the ship, but it's coming through the Galactic's main AI channel. A medic shouted from the hallway. We need to leave, now. The team ran back on the rescue vessel. Commander Veln prepared to retract the boarding bridge. Bring them in, get them out. But the boarding system wouldn't respond. Something's blocking the bridge, a tech officer said. Override. Veln barked. It is overridden, sir. It just ... won't move. On the Galactic, one soldier turned and fired again at the ceiling. Keep it back. The walls moved now, slid, shifted shapes formed in the wet steel. Shapes like hands, like faces, and the boot prints. They were multiplying. Dozens of them appeared on the floor, in straight lines, as if an invisible army was marching through the hallway. The lead medic shouted, "We need a way out." Then, just ahead, the air shimmered, and a figure stepped forward. No suit, no face, no skin. It was made of moisture and metal and memory, but on its feet were perfect black human combat boots. Don't shoot, the medic whispered. It's watching. The thing tilted its head. Then it spoke. I walked in war, in pain, in heat, in blood. I carried the weight. I remember it all. The voice was not one voice. It was many, male, female, young, old, all speaking together. The figure took another step forward. The floor hissed under its boot. The soldier lifted his weapon. Back off. The thing paused. Then, slowly, it raised one hand, not to attack. To point. Behind the group they turned, and saw a new boot print glowing behind them. But this one was theirs, fresh, still forming, even though no one had stepped there. AI voice returned. Contamination spreading. Memory infection level, critical class 3, threat confirmed. All organic systems compromised. Commander Veln slammed his hand on the control panel. Cut the connection. Blow the boarding bridge if you have to. Sir, the bridge is melting, a crew member said, eyes wide. It's changing shape outside. The connection arm of the Galactic had turned dark. Wet, it pulsed like muscle. It's alive, someone whispered. Back on the ship, the figure spoke again. They walked across galaxies. They left their prints behind. I am those prints. The team fired. The figure vanished into steam. Gone. But new boot prints appeared where it had stood. Now moving toward them, the medic tapped his wrist. Gas igniter. Ready? We'll burn it. No, Veln shouted over the radio. We need data. There won't be anyone left to give it. She screamed. She dropped the IG and ITER. Fire burst through the hallway. Steam heat, smoke, the metal groaned. The team ran, only 3 made it. To the airlock, the rest, gone. The boarding bridge finally detached. The Galactic slowly began to drift. Away again then, its lights turned back on bright, warm, as if nothing had happened. Sora looked at the survivors. Did anyone touch the prints? They shook their heads, but their boots were wet. Hours later, one of them began to scream. He said he felt the floor moving. He said he heard footsteps, even when no one was near. And in the corner of the medbay, a single boot print appeared on the floor. This time, glowing red, Veln locked the door. He called Galactic Command. This isn't a disease, he said. It's not even a weapon, then. What is it? They asked. He stared at the screen. It's memory, something alive. In the imprint of violence. The boots didn't carry a threat. They became one. Every step left behind a whisper of war. And now those whispers are speaking back. The line went silent. Then Command gave a final order. All human combat gear to be banned, especially boots. And across the stars, warning spread. But none of them could erase what had already begun, because now, even on planets where no humans had ever walked, the prints were appearing, and the walls had started to sweat. The space station, Kirin's shield, orbited quietly above the stormy blue planet of Relka 5. It was a high-level research facility, sealed, guarded, and built to withstand anything from solar flares to warship strikes. Nothing ever got in unless it was scanned, scrubbed, and sterilized. But today, the alarms screamed. Level red. Biohazard alert, the AI blared. Class 3 contamination detected. Lockdown engaged. Station Commander Luro, a thick-scaled reptilian officer with 20 years of clean duty, stared at the flashing red lights. Impossible. This is a secure station. We haven't had contact with any infected ships." His assistant, a nervous feathered analyst named Ren, tapped on his pad. "It's coming from docking bay 7. No crew entered, but something tripped. The sensors." Luro's voice dropped. "Show me." The security feed appeared, a dark, quiet hallway. Then the camera shifted, and on the floor near the airlock was a single human boot print. Luro clenched his fists. "Scan the bay." Every particle Ren ran the scan. Eyes wide, organic material detected. Active, alive. It's spreading through the floor. "Seal it?" Luro barked. "Now." But the AI answered flatly. Containment failed. Infection moved to secondary decks. "How?" Ren asked, shaking. "We're on lockdown. No life forms entered." Luro's tail twitched. "This isn't a life form." From behind them, the station's chief biologist ran into the command room, gasping. "I saw it." Luro turned. "Saw what?" She trembled. "The print. I touched it. It moved." "What do you mean, moved?" Ren asked. "It pulsed under my hand," she whispered, "and I heard something, voices, footsteps. I swear, Commander, it felt like it was breathing." Luro grabbed her arm. "Did you wear gloves?" She paused. "No, I thought it was just dirt." Luro cursed in his language, then turned to Ren. "Prep, quarantine." But the biologist collapsed. Her skin turned gray, her veins darkened, her eyes rolled back. She whispered as she hit the floor, "They remember, they walk forever." Then her chest cracked open, not with blood, with mist, thick, gray, and alive. Ren screamed and backed against the wall. Luro hit the emergency purge button. But the mist didn't stop. It moved through vents, slipping like smoke with purpose. Not random, not wild. Focused, searching, hunting. The AI's voice returned. "Alert. Contamination reached crew decks. Evacuate the civilians," Luro ordered. "No civilian ships docked," Ren said. "No one can leave." The power flickered. The lights buzzed. Then, from the speakers, came a voice, soft human, tired feet, long marches, so much pain, so much anger. Luro's face hardened. "Where is that coming from?" "Everywhere," the AI answered. "It's inside the network." "Inside me?" Then the AI shut down. Everything went black. Ren activated backup lights. Red emergency glow filled the halls. Down in the lower decks, screams echoed. A maintenance crew had found more boot prints, not just one, hundreds, marching in perfect lines down the corridor, but there were no humans here, just shapes, moving shapes. In the mist, the biologist's body was gone. Her room was empty. Only a pair of boots remained by the bed. Ren whispered, "Commander, the boots. It's always the boots." Luro nodded. "They carry memory, pain, war. They're not clothing anymore. They're carriers." He turned toward the broadcast room. "I need to send a message to Galactic Command." But the door wouldn't open. It had a boot print burned into the metal, as if something walked through it. Ren backed away. What if it's not just about humans anymore? What if the prints learned how to spread on their own? Luro grabbed his sidearm. "Then we burn the infected levels. We purge it all." Down below, fires were already spreading. The security teams had started using flamethrowers, burning anything touched by mist. The prints burned, but new ones appeared nearby seconds later. Even when they shut the vents, the mist returned. From nowhere, from nothing, and always followed by that sound. Step, 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 step. Ren covered her ears. "It's not real. It's not real." "It is," Luro growled, "and it's getting smarter." Just then, the main screen lit up. An incoming message. Not from Command. From the Glorious, the ship that should have been destroyed. Luro stared. The message played. It was a video. It showed the crew of the Glorious alive, but their eyes were wrong. Their movements stiff, their skin glistened with moisture, and all of them wore perfect human combat boots. In unison, they spoke. "We remember everything, every march, every mile, every kill. You gave us purpose. Now we walk for you." The screen went dark. Ren stepped back. "They're infected. Not just in body, but in mind. The prints are copying them." "No," Luro whispered. "The prints are them." "Then what do? We end the chain." Luro ordered every boot on the station to be scanned. Human, alien, synthetic. It didn't matter. If it touched the floor, it was suspect. In the The storage room, they found 3 crates of old human gear. A gift from a visiting diplomat kept as a joke by the crew. Among them, 1 pair of worn-out boots, still wet, still warm. They were placed in a sealed cube. Wren stared at them. "They're vibrating," she said softly. Luro raised his weapon. "Wait," Wren said. "Let me ask it something." He blinked. "Ask." "The boots." She stepped closer to the cube. "What do you want?" Silence. Then a voice came, low and clear. Home. Wren's feathers rose. "Where is home? Where the fire began," it said. "Where the first print fell." Luro stepped forward. "Earth." "No," the voice said. "Before Earth, before memory. Where war walked first. Where grief was born." The cube cracked. The boots moved. Luro shot the container. Flames erupted, but it wasn't enough. Outside the window, a shadow passed the GL Aria. It was docking. Again, its lights glowing with welcome. Luro stared in disbelief. "They're not dead. They're spreading." Wren spoke softly. "It's not just spores. It's an idea now, a disease of history, of walking pain, and it doesn't want to stop walking." Luro made a decision. He walked to the AI core. He opened the emergency command channel, and he said 2 words: "Station self-destruct." Wren's eyes widened. "Commander, we can't let it leave," he said. "If it docks, it wins." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "At least now we know the truth." Luro looked at her. "What truth?" "That sometimes the most dangerous weapons are the ones we wear without thinking, and the footprints we leave behind. They remember us better than we remember ourselves." As the countdown ticked, the sound returned, step, 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 but it was not coming toward them anymore. It was walking away, back toward the GL Aria, as if it knew the fire was coming, as if it had already found a new station, a new ship, a new world, and by the time Kieran's shield exploded in silent fire over Relco 5, another bootprint had already appeared. On a ship 3 systems away, the Galactic Council building on Zarn 7 was made of shining blue stone and silver towers. It stood tall as a symbol of order and safety. Inside, leaders from 100 alien species shouted at each other. The room buzzed with fear, confusion, and anger. Another station gone. A 4-armed delegate from the Uric species roared. Kieran's shield exploded with no survivors. "Bootprints," another cried. "You all saw the footage. Human bootprints again. Ban humans from all..." Someone shouted. Ambassador Reese, the only human in the room, stood slowly. He wore a plain suit, no weapons, no boots. "I understand your fear," Reese said calmly. "But humanity does not know what this is either. You expect us to believe that?" Barked a tall winged creature. "3 ships, 2 stations, all linked to your combat boots. And you claim innocence." Reese hesitated. "I didn't say we were innocent. I said we didn't know." A silence fell. Reese turned to the central AI console. "I request a witness. Someone not from the council. Someone who might understand this threat better than all of us." "Who?" the speaker asked. "A man who survived the first print," Reese said, "a retired soldier. He's here." The doors opened. A limping man entered. He walked slowly, dragging 1 leg. His coat was torn. His eyes looked tired and dark. His name was Corporal Damon Ike. He didn't speak right away. He reached the center of the chamber and dropped something on the floor. A pair of black human combat boots. Everyone flinched. The boots didn't move, but their presence made the air heavier. Reese nodded to him. "Tell them what you told me." Damon looked around. "I was part of the Human-Vorn War 40 years ago. Deep Space Patrol. We landed on a frozen moon, chasing a fleeing Vorn scout. We lost contact with our forward unit." He took a breath. "When we found them, they were gone. All 10, no signs of a fight. Just bootprints in the snow, circling, overlapping, going nowhere." A delegate interrupted. "And you think, those prints, they weren't ours anymore," Damon said quietly. "We scanned the area. No heat, no movement. But then our medic said he heard footsteps. We all did." He rubbed his face. "Our captain went missing first. We found his boots, but no body. Then others disappeared. Same thing. A boot print would appear. And then one of us was gone." Another council member frowned. "That was decades ago. Why now?" Damon pointed at the boots on the floor. I've kept those since then, from the last man who vanished. I thought I was the only one who noticed what was really happening. Until now, a council member asked, "Why didn't you report it?" "I did," Damon replied. "The Earth government ignored it, said it was stress." "The room," murmured Reese stepped forward. "We now believe some kind of memory-based parasite was present in human gear from that war. Something that bonded with the pain, trauma, and violence carried in those boots." Another delegate scoffed. "You're saying the boots absorbed emotion?" "No," Damon said. "I'm saying they carried it. Like spores carry poison. Like old wounds carry ghosts." Reese looked at the council. "We called it war fatigue. But what if war didn't just damage us? What if it left footprints that never stopped walking?" An insectoid delegate leaned forward. "Why combat boots?" "Because they've been in every battlefield," Damon said. "They've marched through fire, blood, fear, and death, over and over. For centuries, what if something learned to feed on that? On the pattern, on the memory?" The boots on the floor creaked. Everyone stepped back. Damon raised a hand. "Don't panic. It won't activate here. Not without a host." "It's what kind of host?" someone asked. Damon looked straight at them. "Pain, war, regret. The boots respond to it. They find it, they become it." A loud beep echoed through the room. The AI assistant spoke. "Alert. Bootprint detected in sublevel D human design. Number humans present." The council chamber froze. "Another one," someone gasped. Reese turned to the screen. "Show us." The feed switched to a hallway below the council building, and there it was. Another BOOTPRINT. Dark, wet, still forming seal. "That level," the speaker shouted. "Evacuate the building." Others yelled. Reese turned to Damon. "Is it following you?" Damon shook his head. "No, it's spreading." He stepped to the console. "It travels in signal, in data, in fear. Every boot ever scanned. Every image, every story told." A long silence filled the room. Reese whispered. "It's becoming an idea. A dangerous one. The more real it becomes." Suddenly, the lights flickered. The boots on the floor began to shake. One of them tipped over, and a new voice echoed from the council speaker. Soft, broken, human. "We walked for you. We carried your weight. Now, you will carry us." The boots smoked. Security bots rushed in and fired containment foam, sealing them inside a steel case. The chamber buzzed with panic. Reese raised his hands. "We can still stop it. But not with weapons, not with fire." "How, then?" the speaker demanded. "We trace every human combat boot ever gifted, sold, or left behind. We destroy them. All of them," Reese said firmly. "And what of the humans themselves?" A cold voice asked from the shadows. "What if the spores are in them now?" All eyes turned to Damon. He slowly reached into his coat and pulled out a small syringe. "Then I'll be the first to be tested." "No need," Reese said. "If it had taken him, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Damon stepped forward. "The danger is real. But you need to understand this isn't about humans alone. It's about the echoes we leave. This parasite, it feeds on the pain we forget. It walks in our silence." A final message came through the console. A new planet, a new ship, a new print. The council voted, effective immediately. A galaxy-wide order was passed. All human combat gear is a Class 3 biological hazard. Immediate destruction required boots, gloves, armor, uniforms, burned, crushed, vaporized but deep in the black. Aboard an old pirate ship with no registration, a forgotten pair of boots sat quietly in a locker. Then the lights flickered, and in the hallway outside, a boot print appeared. The walk was not over. The pirate ship Scythe-Wraith floated in deep space, far outside Galactic Alliance territory. Its engines were off. Its lights were dim. No one answered its hails. The crew had stopped talking days ago. Captain Mira Voss stared at the wall of her bridge. Her hand trembled slightly, though her voice stayed calm. "Report. Is it still spreading?" The ship's engineer, a small three-eyed alien named Ket, shook his head. "I burned half the lower deck." The prince still came back. Mira clenched her jaw. "So burning doesn't work." "No," Ket said softly. "It just makes them angrier." In the corner of the room, a boot sat on a metal table. It was old, worn, human military issue. The tread was cracked, the laces torn, and it was wet. Mira had found the boot 3 days ago inside a sealed smuggler's crate. She had laughed at first, holding it up like a trophy. Earth military junk, she had said, might fetch a few credits from collectors. Now, the ship was dying. Not from fire, not from war, but from footsteps. The first boot print had appeared in the mess hall, then another, in the crew quarters, then the engineer's workshop, always human, always fresh, even though no humans had walked. Ket's voice cracked. We lost 4 crew in 2 days. No blood, no struggle, just gone, like they stepped out of existence. And what was left? Mira asked, though she already knew. A boot print, he whispered, still warm. Mira turned toward the boot on the table. It hadn't moved, but the air around it felt heavy, thick, like something alive was watching them. She opened the ship's logs and began recording. This is Captain Mira Voss of the Scythe-Wraith. We're infected. I repeat, we are infected with what the Council now calls a Class 3 boot print anomaly. This is not a joke. This is not a story. If you receive this message, do not open human combat gear. Do not bring boots onto your ship. Do not keep them. Do not sell them. Burn them immediately. Her voice shook at the end. Ket leaned forward. Captain, do you hear that? Mira paused. Yes. A sound, slow, soft, step, 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 step. But no one was walking. The footsteps came from the ceiling. Mira and Ket looked up. There were no access panels, just smooth metal. Still, the sound was there, like something pacing above them. We're running out of time, Mira said. We need to send this message out now. But the screen flashed red. Transmission blocked. AI core overridden. No, Ket said, typing fast. Something's inside the system. The lights flickered. Then, on every monitor, a boot print appeared, black, dripping, marching. Across every screen, Myra grabbed her blaster. We cut power, then head to the emergency escape pod. We eject and destroy this ship before it spreads. But Ket started. No arguments, she snapped. I've seen what happens. We're not dying here. They moved fast through the hallway. The walls were sweating. Mira didn't understand how metal could sweat, but it did. The drops slid down in crooked lines, and sometimes she thought she saw faces in the reflection. They reached the main core room. Ket grabbed the shutdown lever. Ready? Do it, Myra said. He pulled. Nothing happened. Then the speakers turned on, and a voice spoke. It sounded human but broken. I remember the deserts, the screams, the orders, the silence. I remember being told to keep walking. So, I did. I still do. Ket screamed and fired at the wall. It cracked. The wall bled. A thick mist poured from the break. Mira grabbed Ket. Go! Run! They reached the escape pod. She slammed the door shut behind them and hit launch. The pod flew out into deep space. Far from the ship. From the small window, they watched the Scythe-Wraith twist and convulse. Lights burst. Metal shifted. Then it was gone. Not exploded, just gone, dissolved into black mist. Myra shivered. It didn't even leave wreckage. Ket clutched the emergency radio. Sending distress signal now, he pushed the button. Static. Double quotes. No signal, he said, trying again. We're cut off. Mira turned to him. You still have the boot, don't you? He froze. His eyes went wide, slowly. He opened the storage panel. The boot was there, still wet, still warm. I thought it was just a souvenir, he whispered. I didn't know. Mira snatched it and threw it into the outer disposal chute. Then she hit eject. They watched it fly out into the void. Gone. The ship trembled slightly. Then silence, relief washed over them. Mira leaned back. We did it, but... Then Ket looked down at the floor of the pod and pointed there. Next to Mira's boot was another BOOTP RINT. Perfect. New. Forming slowly in the metal. No, she whispered. The radio buzzed. Another voice came through. Not one they recognized. We warned you, it said. You carried us again. Mira stood up. We'll burn the whole pod. Ket looked panicked. Where do we go? Nowhere, she said. This ends here. She activated the pod's emergency fusion core, a self-destruct meant for pirates, or enemies. A voice in the mist screamed, I walked across stars, I remember every war, Mira said. One word, forget, and pressed the button. The stars blinked for a moment. Nothing remained but far away. On a derelict cargo ship, drifting near a forgotten moon, a crate shook inside. Another boot twitched, and the sound of a slow, lonely step echoed in the dark. The Galactic Council's quarantine station floated in orbit above the gas giant, Vulture Prime. It was built to contain the deadliest threats in the galaxy: mutant spores, psychic plagues, and starborn parasites. Today, it held something worse, something that got Commander Halric stood behind the glass observation wall. Inside the decontamination room, a lone escape pod rested on the floor, scorched and blackened. Its outer hull was torn, as if something had clawed from the inside, and there was a boot print on the ceiling. Halric narrowed his eyes. This pod was found drifting near the trade ring. No ID, no beacon, just a pulse. Dr. Sayla, the quarantine lead, adjusted her visor. There was one survivor, a female, human, deep shock, barely coherent. She's awake. Yes, Sayla said quietly. But we're not sure she's alone. Halric turned. What do you mean? Sayla didn't speak. Instead, she tapped a button. A monitor lit up. It showed a human woman, sitting on a steel bed inside a sealed chamber. She rocked back and forth, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her name tag read, Mira Voss. But that wasn't the disturbing part. The floor around her was covered in boot prints, fresh human, circling her, and Mira wasn't wearing boots. Halric stepped closer. She brought it here. We ran full scans, Sayla said. No parasites, no tech. But we keep hearing it. At night, hearing what? She hesitated. Marching. Just one step. Always one. Halric opened the chamber door with a hiss and stepped inside. The air was cold. The walls were padded. Myra didn't look up. He sat on the chair across from her. Captain Myra Voss. You are safe. You're aboard Quarantine Station 9. I need you to tell me what happened. Mira raised her head slowly. Her eyes were hollow, like someone who had seen too much and remembered it all. I told them not to keep the boots, she said. Halric frowned. It'd start from the beginning. She shook her head. You won't believe me. Try me. Mira took a deep breath. It doesn't walk like us. It doesn't breathe like us. But it remembers like us. It holds memories. Pain, orders, commands. It obeys. Still, even after death. You're talking about the boot prints? Halric asked carefully. She nodded. They don't just mark where it's been. They mark where it's going. Halric leaned forward. What is it? A weapon? A spirit? A virus? Myra's voice cracked. It's a soldier. Something from Earth's past. It walked too far. Saw too much. And now it just keeps walking. Halric tried to remain calm. And how did it? Spread to your ship? A relic, she whispered. An old human combat boot smuggled. Maybe as a joke. Maybe for profit. The second it touched our ship, it began. Began what? Mira's eyes flicked to the corner of the room. Following, Halric turned. There, in the corner, was a new boot print. He stood up fast. There are no humans on this station except her. Sayla's voice crackled through his earpiece. Commander, we've got multiple new thermal signatures. Moving inside. The walls, no life signs, just movement. Mira whispered, it found a new path. Halric activated the emergency lockdown, sealed the medical bay. No one in, no one out. But it was too late. The lights went out. A loud metal clang echoed through the station. Then, another footsteps, but not from the floor, from inside the vents. Where's it coming from? Halric snapped into the com. Everywhere sparks flew from the wall. The security monitor fizzled. Mira stood up. It doesn't stop. You have to send me back to Earth. That's where it started. Halric turned. You want to bring it home? It is home, she said. It never left. A wall panel burst open. A boot dropped out, empty. No leg, no body, just a boot. It hit the floor, that hit the floor. Then moved, it dragged itself across the metal like something. Breathing. Myra stepped toward it. Let me take it, Halric blocked her. Are you crazy? No, she said softly. I'm the only one it remembers. I was with it the longest. Maybe I can lead it back. The boot twisted slightly, as if nodding. Halric didn't like this, not one bit, but the alternative was worse. "Fine," he said, "but if you fail, this whole station is gone." Mira didn't flinch. Understood. They suited her in a quarantine rig and sealed the boot in a magnetic lockbox. Mira stepped into a containment shuttle with just the box and a weak tracking beacon. Sayla watched from the control deck. Where should we send her? Halric stared at the stars. Earth. The old war zones. Anywhere that boot might still recognize. And if she doesn't make it, Halric was silent for a moment. Then said, "Then we detonate the shuttle remotely, and pray it's enough." The shuttle launched on inside. Mira sat alone with the lockbox. A soft thump echoed, then another. The box glowed faintly. Then it opened, not with force, but willingly. The boot stepped out on its own, and Mira smiled. "I remember too," she whispered. "Let's go home." Far behind her, on the station, Halric watched the feed go dark. He turned to Sayla. "Send a message. To Galactic Command, upgrade all human military gear to Class 1 threat level." Sayla blinked. "That's only for extinction-grade weapons." Halric nodded slowly. "Exactly." The stars outside Myra's shuttle looked calm, but inside, nothing felt calm. The old Earth combat boot sat silently on the metal floor. It didn't move now. No dragging, no thumping. It simply rested like a beast asleep. Mira stared at it. Afraid to blink, the last time she looked away, it had appeared behind her seat, just standing there, and it was empty. She tightened her grip on the steering yoke. We're almost there. Earth's orbit in 2 hours. The boot twitched. She didn't scream, she didn't even breathe. Instead, she whispered, "I know you understand me. I know you remember where you came from. Let me take you back." For a moment, the shuttle lights flickered. A cold gust blew through the sealed cockpit. It wasn't possible they were in space, fully pressurized, but she felt it anyway. Like something remembering winter, the boot didn't answer. But it listened. It always listened. Mira turned on the ship recorder. She had to document everything. "This is Captain Mira Voss. Mission time, 14 hours since launch. The Artifact Earth military issue, Class 3 biohazard combat boot, continues to display autonomous movement and possible memory-linked behavior. Subject responds to verbal cues, seems aware." She paused. "God help me. I think it's following orders, old ones from centuries ago." She looked at the boot again. It had turned, facing her now, but it hadn't moved, at least, not visibly. She checked the log. Yes, the boot had been facing the rear. Now it was pointed straight at her. Myra swallowed hard. "We're going to Earth. The ruins near New Sidonia. That's where the last Earth War ended. Maybe you'll stop there." The lights dimmed again. A single word flashed on the ship's ancient Earth-made emergency screen. "March?" Mira's breath caught. She didn't type that. The system wasn't even connected to a keyboard. That screen had been dead for decades. It was supposed to be just a relic from Earth's early shuttle design, and yet there it was. March. The boot didn't move, but Mira understood it was waiting for a command, or for something to recognize. "Computer," she said softly, "run historic audio. Human military, Earth year 2083. End of the solar conflict." The ship played an old voice recording, a real one, a commander's voice, strong, confident, broken at the edges. "Soldiers of Earth, the war is over. Lay down your weapons. You can come home." The moment the words echoed through the cockpit, the boot rose. No foot inside. No person wearing it, just the boot, standing. Balanced, ready. Myra gasped and backed into her seat. The boot stepped forward once, twice. It stopped inches from her. Then a voice, not hers, whispered through the ship's intercom. It was a man's voice, old, gravelly, but the cum was off. Orders complete. The boot fell sideways, silent again. The shuttle alert sounded, entering Earth orbit. Myra didn't move for several minutes. The boot stayed where it landed, like it had shut down. Maybe that voice was right. Maybe whatever spirit or memory lived in the old gear had just finished its duty. But Mira wasn't taking chances. She landed the shuttle at the New Sidonia ruins. The Earth officials tried to stop her, but she pushed through, carrying the boot in a sealed box, surrounded by a magnetic field and 6 drones ready to incinerate it. The old war zone was quiet. Dead towers, broken domes, blackened steel, half buried. In sand, she walked to the center of the battlefield, the place where the final flag had been raised. She opened the box. The boot was gone. She stared in shock. Then she heard it, a faint marching sound behind her. Mira turned and stopped breathing. It wasn't just one boot. There were dozens, scattered across the battlefield. Some whole, some cracked dot, all of them, standing dot alone, together, dot waiting. The wind shifted and every single boot turned to face. Her Myra took one step back. Then they began to move, not toward her, but forward, marching silent, as if they'd been waiting for someone to come back, to remember them, to free them. She stood frozen. Then, from behind her, an Earth official shouted, "What the hell is this?" More soldiers arrive, weapons raised, drones locked on. "Don't fire," Mira screamed. "They're not attacking." The boot stopped, just stopped. The Earth commander stepped forward. "What are they?" Mira answered quietly. "They're memories of war, of orders never canceled. They waited for centuries." One of the boots closest to her cracked. A small puff of dust rose into the air. Then the boot collapsed and did not move again. The commander looked shaken. "Are they dying?" Mira shook her head. "No, they're being laid to rest." He stared at her. "Should we collect them? Study them?" She looked back at the field. "No, leave them. This place is a graveyard." And they're finally going home. The Galactic Council received the report days later and changed the classification. Human combat boots were now Class 1 cultural and biohazard artifacts, not because they were weapons, but because they carried something more dangerous than firepower. They carried duty, even after death, even without feet, and in the deep, quiet part of the galaxy. Some say they still march, waiting for their final orders. The desert wind howled across the ruins of New Sidonia. Old bones of buildings stretched toward, the red-orange sky like broken fingers. And in the center of it all, the boots were gone. All of them. Every single one. Myra stood on the landing pad, staring at the empty battlefield. Yesterday, there had been hundreds of Earth combat boots standing, walking, remembering. Now, just sand. "Where did they go?" whispered Lieutenant Darrow, stepping beside her. Mira didn't answer at first. She felt it again, that strange electric buzz in her chest, a feeling of being watched, not by eyes, but by history. "They were never just boots," she said slowly. "They were echoes, trapped orders, something left behind." Darrow knelt, brushing sand aside. He revealed a shallow footprint. "Perfect tread, deep, fresh. Still marching," he muttered. "But where?" That's when the signal came. A distress call buried in static. But it was ancient, a military Earth code, not used in over 200 years. It repeated only 2 words, Sand Bastion. Mira's heart stopped. That was a name out of legend. A fortress deep beneath Earth's surface, said to be humanity's last fallback in the solar conflict. But no one had ever found it. Until now, the boots were going home. She and Darrow prepared a small team to drones. 1 excavation mech, and just the 2 of them. No one else wanted to come. No one wanted to follow. Ghost soldiers into a grave. It took 5 hours to reach the location, a flat desert stretch, featureless and quiet, until the wind shifted and the sand started to fall. Like it was being sucked downward. "Look," Darrow pointed. The desert collapsed in on itself. A giant sinkhole opened, revealing metal, dark, rusted, but still whole. And on that metal, marching in slow, steady rhythm, were boots, hundreds, thousands, moving down into the hidden fortress. Mira whispered. They never stopped. Not since the last battle. She and Darrow followed, climbing down the side of the sinkhole. It led to a massive steel platform, where a hatch waited open. Inside, the air was still cold, and the lights flickered on, one by one, as if welcoming them. Darrow stepped beside her. "Did you hear that?" At first, Mira thought it was the sound of boots. But then she realized it was a heartbeat slow, echoing through the walls, as if the bunker itself was alive. They moved deeper past murals of soldiers. Rusted guns lined the corridors. Old food packs, rotting beds, and then, at the very bottom, they found it. A command room. Untouched in the center was a single chair. And sitting in that chair was a human skeleton, dressed in full command uniform, 1 boot missing, the other still on its foot. Darrow stared. "Is that?" Mira nodded. The last commander. She stepped closer. The walls were covered in scribbled words, scratched by hand, orders, maps, names, and a final message, written in bold red ink. If the war ends, they must be called home. Otherwise, they will walk forever. Suddenly, the boot on the skeleton twitched. Darrow jumped back. Myra stood her ground. The boot moved again. It slid off the bone foot and landed on the floor. And then, it stood like the others. It faced the empty chair for a moment, then turned to her. Mira whispered, "You've come back. You followed the call." The boot nodded. It nodded then, one by one. Other boots entered the room, marching down the halls, silent, obedient. They gathered around the chair. Around their commander. Waiting, Mira looked at the skeleton, then at the boots. She knew what had to be done. She stood in front of the chair and saluted. "Soldiers of Earth," she said, voice firm. "Stand down. The war is over. You are dismissed. Rest now." The boots didn't move at first. Then slowly, one by one, they fell, not violently, peacefully. Like a final breath, they dropped to the ground and did not rise again. The heartbeat in the walls stopped. Silence. And then, a soft blue light filled the room. The last command post glowed gently. Like a soul, finally at peace, Darta whispered, "You did it." Mira felt tears on her face. No, they did. They were waiting all this time for someone to say it. The council soon arrived. They sealed the site, marked it as a historic memory zone, and passed the final law. No Earth combat boots may be removed from a battlefield. No AI archive or species may replicate or reanimate them, because now the galaxy understood they were not just shoes, they were symbols of loyalty without end, of orders so deep they became part of the material, and of soldiers who never got to hear the words they needed most, "Come home." The galaxy breathed easier after the Sand Bastion incident. News of the marching boots spread from council chambers to back-alley taverns. Most species reacted with fear, others with respect, but not everyone believed. Some thought it was myth, a psychological weapon. Some even laughed. That was a mistake, because one boot was missing. Still walking, still waiting, Commander Tirax of the Zern Dominion was not a believer. His fleet had faced Earth decades ago and lost, but he blamed that on strategy, not ghosts in footwear. "Weak minds," he scoffed, standing over a massive war table. "Boots don't walk by themselves. Fear walks for them." His officers didn't argue. No one dared. Tirax had captured one of the boots from New Sidonia, smuggled it off-world before the Galactic law was passed. He wanted to study it, break it, use it, and now it sat in a sealed case in his lab. Guarded by drones and wrapped in energy fields, "Prepare the scans," he ordered. A squad of scientists approached the case. Inside, the boot stood upright, still, silent. The lead tech frowned. "Sir, the readings, they're strange." "How strange?" "There's something inside it, but not metal, not organic. It's like memory, stored emotion, grief, rage." Tirax laughed. "So it's sad? Should we offer it tea?" The others didn't laugh. He turned to a young officer. "Open the case, sir. You heard me." The room went quiet. With trembling fingers, the officer deactivated the shields. The case hissed open. Nothing happened at first. Then the boot moved, just an inch, but enough Tirax narrowed his eyes. Was that gravity? No one answered. The boot stepped forward. Then again and again, walking across the lab floor with perfect precision, straight toward Tirax. "Stop it," he shouted. The boot didn't stop, it didn't run. It marched like a soldier obeying orders long forgotten. "Shoot it." Weapons, fired plasma, bullets. Energy bursts. All missed, not because it dodged, but because the boot was not there. One moment tanned, then it was inside your shadow, behind your breath, between seconds. It didn't make sense, but it didn't have to. One by one, the guards fell. Not killed, just knocked unconscious, as if the boot knew exactly how much to hurt without ending life. Tirax backed up, hand shaking. "I'm not afraid of you." The boot stopped, then turned. It faced a mirror on the wall and lifted itself slowly, gracefully, into the air. Its sole pressed against the mirror surface, and it left behind a print, a single glowing boot print, a mark, of memory, then it dropped to the floor and collapsed. Tyrax blinked. What was that? The scientists checked the boot. Lifeless now, just leather and old material. But on the mirror, the print still glowed, and behind that glass, something moved. A figure, a shadow. Combat gear. Eyes, full of sorrow, one arm raised in salute. Then it faded. Gone. The boot was collected. But this time, even Tyrax knew better. He returned it quietly, secretly, to the battlefield, and the galaxy learned another rule. A boot removed will seek the place it belongs, and if denied, it will make a path. From that day forward, every battlefield where humans had fallen was marked with special signs. Do not remove boots, do not disturb the ground, do not ignore their march, because the boots were not weapons. They were warnings, and sometimes they remembered what we forgot. A soldier's last step never really ends. It began on a quiet moon. No battles, no boots, just a new mining colony. Run by neutral species until the digging started, and they found it a pair of Earth combat boots buried under layers of stone, untouched for centuries. At first, the workers thought it was junk, but then they noticed something strange. The boots weren't fossilized, they were warm. One worker reached to touch them, but before he could, the boots stood up alone, together facing the sky, and began walking. No direction, no path, just movement, as if following a command no one could hear, a command never canceled. The mining team panicked. One called the Galactic emergency line. The message was simple: they're walking again. Within hours, the moon was quarantined. Historians, military experts, and spiritual interpreters arrived. No one could explain it. No humans had died on this moon. There was no battle, no memory stored in that ground. But the boots kept walking in. Circles. Day and night, never stopping, never slowing. Mira was called in again. She had become the galaxy's unofficial boot whisperer. She arrived in a dropship, stepping into the dust quietly, like she was entering a sacred place. She didn't speak at first, just watched, and then she closed her eyes. They're not walking for the past this time, she whispered. Daro. Now her permanent assistant tilted his head. What then? She opened her eyes slowly. The future. Everyone stared. Mira knelt beside the boots path and placed her hand in the soil. It pulsed, soft, faint, but alive. This moon, she said, will be a battlefield one day. But there's no war here, Darrow replied. Not yet. That night, the boots stopped. They faced the horizon and just stood, silent, still waiting. The council declared the moon off-limits. But not because of danger, because of prophecy, where the boots walked. War would one day follow. It became law. Mark the boots. Study the ground. Prevent the battle before it begins. Humanity didn't protest. They didn't have to. They knew their soldiers had always marched for peace, even in war. But they never stopped moving until it was real. 1 year later, on a distant planet, an empire ignored the warning. They found boots during excavation. Old, rotted, but standing. They laughed. They melted them down for scrap. That night, a human fleet appeared from hyperspace. Not for war, for retrieval. They didn't fire. They didn't threaten. They just opened their hatches. And boots walked out. Hundreds of them, no humans inside, just boots. Marching forward, the Empire surrendered before a single shot because they understood these weren't invaders. They were reminders that some things should be left where they stood. Memory was not trash. That sacrifice walked with weight, and then the boots stopped. They turned, and marched home. The galaxy changed that day. Every planet, every battlefield, every grave, marked carefully. Because now they knew it wasn't humans who haunted the stars. It was what they left behind. Epilogue in a museum orbiting the first Earth colony. One exhibit draws the most visitors. It's quiet, simple, just a single pair of boots. They don't move, they don't glow, they just sit behind glass. And the plaque says, "These boots never marched. They waited until we were wise enough to listen." And beside it, a second message. A soldier's foot leaves more than a print. It leaves a promise, and now across the stars. That promise is kept, not with fear, not with weapons, but with respect. Because once the galaxy laughed at Earth, then they studied it, then they feared it. But in the end, they honored it, all because of the boots. The end.